I, 19, have an estranged grandpa more or less. He's my dad's father, but my dad hardly had a relationship with him. I have two other siblings, one younger, 13, and one older, 26. My grandma divorced my grandpa when my dad was only 10, so he lived with my grandma his whole life in a different state and didn't see him. When he got older he saw him a little more, and my grandpa started coming around a little bit more as well. He'd stay for a week at a time and then go home. He was an old bitter man, to be honest. He never got remarried and lived his whole life in his coastal town with the same friends he'd had his whole life. He wasn't pleasant to be around and could hold grudges longer than anyone I've ever met. But regardless of this, he was filthy rich. He owned a successful business that he sold for $1 million. He retired after selling, but his house sits on an island, as well as the biggest piece of land on the island. So it sold for well over $3 million. I was never close with my grandpa, but I took after his sister, who is an RN, and he adores her. He always told me that he was proud to see me follow in her footsteps. He died a few months ago. Since then, my family has been torn apart. He left everything to me. He essentially liquidated all of his assets, and it ended up being close to $8 million. I was shocked. I didn't and still don't know what to do with the money, but I'm going to save it. My dad and stepmom as well as my siblings are hounding me to split the money with them. I just can't do it. My dad is a drinker who never said anything nice about his dad. Despite him being bitter, my grandpa actually bought my dad a $300,000 house. My dad would 100% drink away any money given to him. As far as my siblings, my brother has full financial support from my grandma as he is the favorite and he's very wasteful and ungrateful. He never talks to me and always is very mean to me when he does. My little sister is the only person I've actually considered. She's very young, and that's really the only thing stopping me. Her mom is money-oriented and would take the money from her. So I'm waiting until she turns 18 and I offered to pay for her college. But now my family is telling me I'm unfair and the money doesn't belong to me and I'm not deserving of it. That I'm too young and I'll waste it on cars and clothes. I don't agree, and now they're all threatening to cut me off and never speak to me or even sue me if I don't give them all a chunk of the money. I don't know what to do and I'm buckling under pressure here. I've already had 2 police officers out to my house because my dad is claiming I stole the money from him. Everything was through an attorney. I know I did nothing wrong legally, but morally, I don't know. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You do not owe them any money. Just because they are blood doesn't mean they are family. If you want to help your little sibling, put it in a trust that only she can touch at a certain age. And pay for her schooling directly just in case her greedy mom or dad tries to touch it or talk her into giving it to them. Invest wisely and be happy. Your grandpa might be an old grumpy man, but he saw something in you. Of course not. You are entitled to your inheritance. They have no right to pressure you into sharing it. In fact, you're old enough, and this sounds like a really toxic environment. Would you consider moving out? Also, you are really young and will be inexperienced with money. Please don't share with your friends how much you actually have, keep that always private. Use it wisely. Not the idiot. Morally, I feel you do owe your younger sister something because she never had the opportunity to bond with her grandpa. The nice thing would be to pay for your younger sibling's college and make a startup house and funds with a protected trust of some kind. But besides the young family, everyone else is an idiot. Money makes people ugly. Stick to your guns and give them nothing. Live your best life. I come from 3 generations of jewelers, and though my family is no longer in the business, I still enjoy buying and selling loose gemstones for my own collection or to be set into custom pieces. I am extremely close to my husband's family, and I have either cheaply sold or simply given them stones or rings to propose to their significant others. My oldest brother-in-law has been dating his girlfriend for the past 6 years, and while they are both a piece of work to say the least, they're family, so we tolerate them in doses. While we talk to and visit the other in-laws on a weekly basis, these two only come around when an event is going on or when they need money, and they always need money. My pending sister-in-law, while sweet at times, is mostly bratty, tacky, spoiled and loud. She usually is the source of drama and my current headache at the moment. Every first Saturday of the month, the family hooks up for breakfast. Things started off normally today, but they announced that finally, they were ready to tie the knot. We all had genuine excitement and breakfast turned into a boozy celebration. Then near the end, while everyone is waiting for the check, they ask if they can come back to the house to pick out a ring. Just like that. Mic drop. It shocked me because they didn't ask, he didn't come to me or hubby beforehand to see if it was even a possibility. And while I do have some options, I did not appreciate the assumption that I was going pull diamonds out of my butt without any discussion and straight up said no. I'd be willing to help them find something at their price point commercially. My inner smog woke up. All hell broke loose. She straight up throws a fit and begins calling out my other sister-in-laws who did have help from me with their rings, and of course they are embarrassed. It's not something we just talk about, and I don't hang it over anyone's head. Brother-in-law starts trying to pick a fight with my husband, telling him that he needs to check me. All of this is driving home that my on-the-spot decision was the right one. Drama apparently wants to have its day because while most of the table is trying to defuse this until we can leave the restaurant, my mother-in-law of all people throws rocket fuel on the dumpster fire by saying that I'm being selfish and that there's no reason why we shouldn't help. She and I have had our differences in the past, during my and my husband's crazy teenage years, but haven't openly feuded since we've been adults. Being the superhero that he is, my husband got us the hell out of there, but since this morning, we have been ignoring our phones as this plays out. We're both pissed. Not the idiot. I would tell them bluntly what the difference is. I help the family members who ask politely and graciously for my help. I do not feel that you have earned that sort of goodwill from me by acting as though you are entitled to it. I would have gladly helped had you asked, rather than assumed, and gotten verbally abusive and pushy. Please find other options. The entitlement is strong with this one. I'm completely disgusted with the bride-to-be, but equally disgusted with your husband's family. Why do they think that? 1. Your husband will disagree with your decision, and 2. You have the type of relationship where your husband makes the decisions, especially when it sounds like this is your business. Those people can back right off. Stand strong on your decision. You did nothing wrong. They blindsided you. The entire family owes you an apology. Good luck. No one is entitled to your belongings. If they want help purchasing a ring, they can ask for your help. If they think you may have a ring they want to purchase, they can damn well offer to purchase it from you. Lock up your jewelry. They know what you have, and they know where you keep it, and they already think of your jewelry as theirs. I, 23, am the oldest of 4 siblings. My dad passed away when I was 14, leaving us and my mom. There's a bit of an age gap between me and my siblings. So when my dad passed, my mom looked at me for babysitting duties. Walking them to school, getting them ready in the morning, cooking for them, helping them with homework, getting them in bed at the right time, all that. If I had to guess, I'd say I spend 4 hours a day minimum taking care of them, most days more. Plus an hour or so on chores. Now I love my siblings, and I love my mom. But from when I was 14 till I moved out at 19, I had no social life, no hobbies, barely any friends. All there was taking care of them, chores, school, and from 16 to later work too. I'm on good terms with my mom, we meet for coffee about twice a month to catch up. I've been in a steady relationship for over 2.5 years, so whenever we meet my mom brings up marriage and kids. I've politely told her I don't want any of that yet, possibly ever, so she can stop asking. But she kept pushing, spread out over several visits. After I told her to stop asking, I told her giving up my youth to take care of someone else's kids because they couldn't ruin the idea of having kids myself for me. I didn't mean to be rude, but it's true. She cried. I told her I don't blame her, but that it still wasn't a good position to be put in as a teen. I didn't apologize. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, being a child carer is abuse. Your mother essentially made you a co-parent, and she needs to face that. It's a hard truth, and she needs to give you space to not be a carer. If in time you decide you want marriage and kids, it should be on your terms, not hers. She likely just wants you to be happy, but can only see you being happy the way she was through marriage and kids. No idiots here. Your mother, from the way things sound, tried a bit too hard. She almost certainly didn't like your answer. You could have been softer in message, but you obviously feel strongly about having lost your youth. Your mother was placed in a hard situation as a sudden single parent and probably did the best she knew how, but it doesn't make it fair to you. If you had said it out of nowhere you totally would be, but she's not entitled to a comforting lie or your continued polite avoidance when she keeps bringing up a personal question you have already answered. It isn't fair how she used you when you were a teenager. It is a horrible situation where everybody is grieving and money probably is tight too, but you should get to voice your grievance about it to her. My sister-in-law is an aspiring author and has been working on a full book series for a few years now. She plans to self-publish and has been having a hard time deciding on what her book covers will look like since she doesn't want blank covers. I'm an artist by hobby and would like to make it my main means of income eventually. I'm not a known artist by any means honestly, and my sister-in-law knows that I'm working on getting my art out there. So she approached me about making the art for her book covers and started playing up how it's going to get my art attention. Initially, I was interested, but when I mentioned payment for my work, she wouldn't talk about it and started saying that we can work something out later. She won't even name what she would be willing to pay, and I told her, unless she's paying me, she's not getting my art. She's also started watching me as I draw and makes a noticeably disgusted face when I put my artist's signature on the piece. She eventually brought up the topic of me supplying her cover art again and specifically asked that I not put my signature on the pieces. I reminded her that I hadn't even agreed to do her covers and asked why she didn't want my watermark on the pieces. She said it was ugly and took the focus off her book title and her own name. So I asked that, if I did the works, would I be paid and credited for the cover work? She got upset and said I'm being greedy and should just help her because we're family and that she gets free art from her friends all the time. I told her to get her free art from her friends then, I will not be working for free. Sister-in-law stormed off to her room after that, and her friends on Facebook have been calling me an idiot for not being willing to help a beginner author make a good-looking book. It's starting to make me second-guess my decision to not supply the art for her books. Am I the idiot, or is she just being unreasonable? Not the idiot. I'm a professional artist and experienced a lot of this when I was starting out. It's fine that she doesn't want your signature visible on the cover, but the artist is always credited in the text somewhere in or on the book. She's not in the driver's seat here, you are. It's very simple. State your price and requirements regarding credit. She can take it or leave it. Not the idiot. I'm a writer in my spare time, my friend is an artist, if I asked her for cover art, she'd be getting paid and credited in a prominent way either on the cover or in large print on the first page, so it can't be missed. Art requires a lot of time and often emotional energy, and it's completely ridiculous that cover artists are rarely credited, even for kids' books which are mostly illustrated anyway. Your sister-in-law is one of those awful you'll get paid in exposure types. Keep demanding payment and credit, and if she ever caves, doubtful, make sure there's a written contract. And maybe add $100 to the price every time she asks to use your art for free without credit. And definitely be wary of her stealing your art. I know that's a problem sometimes. Oh, and just block her Facebook friends. The block button is a wonderfully easy tool. I'm a 23-year-old female with a progressive disability. Like MS but slower. Bride is 23-year-old female too. We've been friends for 7 years. When she got engaged, she asked another woman who she works with for less than a year to be maid of honor. I was hurt, but I brushed it off. Then when it came to asking me to be a bridesmaid, she commented that I had to wear heels and walk down the aisle and stand for pictures unaided. I was hurt because she knew about my condition and my needs and completely overlooked them. We argued but made up. Until now. Her wedding is in February 2021. And I told her I was going to be using a wheelchair by then. I've been going back and forth with it for a while. I want my independence back. No pain, no anxiety over walking with my condition. My team at the hospital stated it would be a good idea. I decided it would be for the best. So I told her. She was instantly off to me. Stating how would I go in the car to the wedding, carry a bouquet, get into the building, etc. I gave solutions to those things. She then ignored my wheelchair. Saying I will walk down the aisle and stand for pictures right when I said no, I don't feel comfortable or fully able to do so. I got back a message saying so, you're rolling down the aisle on my wedding day. Patronizing me and making me feel like crap. It's a curveball she has to make work for her and her groom. And she loves me. The bride-to-be clearly wasn't happy, so I asked if it was a problem. She told me that she wasn't happy. And she doesn't get it because I can use my legs and can manage fine and I want to be independent, but yet I'm not using it. All she wants is for me to walk down the aisle and stand for pictures on her wedding day. After that I could do whatever I want. Like it's that easy. Like my disability is able to turn off and on. I finally got upset and said, if that's how she feels, I'm not coming. Treating me like a thing, to stand in there and smile for her day. Putting everything else aside. My health and well-being. This is the one wedding day she'll ever have. And she tried to fit my disability to work for the both of us. But it always has to be my way. Disability doesn't make a person who they are, their attitude does. Ripping apart my acceptance of my condition. Because I'm doing what's right for me, I have a bad attitude. I can't believe after 7 years of friendship, she's put her one special day over a supposed friend and her health. Like she's ashamed of anyone to see me in a wheelchair. It will ruin her memories of the day. I will ruin it just by disabled. Ashamed of me, which obviously made me feel ashamed for wanting a wheelchair. Unlovable. Unworthy. Ugly. Someone that has no business being at a beautiful event because I'm disabled. She removed me off everything, basically saying I'm selfish to do this on her wedding day. Am I the idiot for dropping out of my best friend of 7 years' wedding? Not the idiot. People really need to think about what a wedding is. This is not a play or a movie where the cast is interchangeable so the director can get the correct visual look. If the bride is looking for everyone to conform visually at the expense of everything else, then she needs to just hire a bunch of actors instead. That way the pictures and pageantry are perfect. If you are a person who wants to celebrate, then the aesthetics are way down on that list. Not the idiot. I'm sorry that your friend is such an idiot though. Weddings are supposed to be fun and full of joy. It's clear your ex-friend, because seriously, with friends like that, who needs enemies, has turned into a bridezilla, and if something doesn't fit into her idea of perfection, it's never going to be good enough. Best of luck with everything, and hey, positive thing is you don't have to buy a wedding gift or wear some tacky ugly dress now. She isn't a friend. A friend doesn't do that. My flower girl had severe cerebral palsy. She had to have her dress altered to be a lace-up. Had to go down the aisle in her wheelchair. Had to be held for photos or sit in her chair. We had to do a different hairstyle for her because she had an undercut because her hair would get tangled from rubbing on her headrest. We even needed special food for her because she was spoon-fed puree. So there was puree of all the dinner food and even puree wedding cake. I loved her, so we did it. The most important thing for me was that she was in the ceremony. A real friend wouldn't care about the wheelchair.